All right, good morning, everybody. Today we are going to start Module 13, Lesson 2. Before you get to that, make sure you go over to Classwork in the home page of your Google Classroom. Click over there and find those Lesson 2 notes. Go ahead and pull them up. Again, we should be able to finish those up today so you can get those turned in, but they are due on the 4th, all right? So today, Module 13, Lesson 2. Yesterday we talked about the Industrial Revolution, where it started, kind of the early stages in the United States of America. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how it changed working conditions for Americans. And it really changed a lot of lives is what it did. And so we start with this changes in working life. And that's kind of where we'll go from today. All right, here's your big idea. The introduction of factories changed working life for many Americans. All right, and so that's kind of where we're going to launch from today and what we're going to talk about today. And again, if you need to pause it and grab that big idea, type it in, please do so. We're going to keep moving though. Again, anything in yellow is an additional note. Anything in blue will go in your definitions, all right? So these mills are going to change workers' lives, all right? Yesterday we talked about Eli Whitney. We talked about, but with the mills, we talked about Samuel Slater, the guy who came over from Great Britain, brought those ideas with him, comes to America, and starts these textile mills, all right? And so as these machines are being developed, the workers no longer needed specific skills to run them. They were pretty simple to run. Anybody could do it. Literally anyone could do it. And so because there were so many other jobs available, these mill owners had a really hard time finding workers. They couldn't find workers to do their job. So what Samuel Slater started to do was he used what they called apprentices. All right, and these were young men who worked for several years to learn the trade. So basically, you would come in as a young person, all right, you would work the job for a certain amount of years, and then you were told that you were going to work yourself into some sort of management position, into some, maybe even an ownership position. All right, but the problem, that's what Samuel Slater told them. The problem was those men never hit that time. They never hit that management, that next step, because Samuel Slater was giving them simple tasks and simple jobs just to make sure the factory was able to run. He was basically giving them false hope that they were going to work themselves into some sort of management ownership position, and there was no hope for that at all. There was nothing that wasn't going to happen. Samuel Slater just needed the workers. And so many of the men, they just walk off the job. They leave. They go, I've done this job forever and I haven't taken that next step. I'm leaving. I'm out of here. And so that fell through for Slater. So Slater had to think a little harder. What was he going to do? And so what he did was he began to hire families to work in the mills. And I'm talking entire families. Mom, dad, kids, everybody works in the mill. And so children were part of this labor force. And I know we think, what the heck? Why were children part of the labor force? Okay, Samuel Slater, greedy, he wants his factories run. Maybe that makes sense why he would do that. But why were parents okay with this? Why was society okay with kids working in these factories? It's hard work. Well, society and parents were okay because if they were at home on the farm, the kids would have been working on the farm. So they were part of the labor force at home. And so parents didn't see any problem with this. Most parents didn't. Most of society didn't see a problem with children being put to work in these factories. And so to attract families, Slater would build housing for workers, and he'd provide them with a company store. And at his store, okay, anybody that worked for the company could come shop at the store, buy things they needed. But you used what Samuel Slater set up was a line of credit. And so you would come, you wouldn't have to pay the money right up front. You could go get a loaf of bread. You wouldn't pay the money right up front. Samuel Slater just said, don't worry about it. We'll take it out of your paycheck. So what he was doing was basically shorting people money because they were using their money at the store, all right, the store that he owned, okay? And so it's a very lucrative deal for Mr. Slater. All right, this is a picture of Slater's, one of the basically dormitories that Slater would have used at his mills. This is it today, what it looks like today. Obviously, it's pretty ragged today. But what Samuel Slater developed was become known as the Rhode Island system, and it's a strategy of hiring entire families and dividing factory work into simple tasks. Again, whenever you need to pause, please do so and get these definitions down. We're going to keep moving. And so not everybody was using the Rhode Island system. Some people had come up with some other ones. One of those people would have been Francis Cabot Lowell. Okay, he's an entrepreneur from New England, the Lowell system developer. That's the definition I'd put for him. Entrepreneur, remember, that is a businessman. That's a guy who's always looking to maybe start a new business, start something new. All right, and his ideas, Lowell's ideas, this Lowell system would completely change the entire textile industry. Okay, after they saw what he was doing, people started to imitate the Lowell system. All right, it completely changed the entire place, how everything was run in that textile industry. And so what is the Lowell system? The Lowell system is water-powered textile mills that employed young, unmarried women from local farms. All right, Lowell would go out. He would recruit young women who were not married, that were working on farms. Come to my factory. I'll give you a place to stay. You can work here. Okay. And basically what also the system included, this would also kind of change and revolutionize the textile industry. It included a loom, which is what you use to make textiles, a loom that could spin thread and it could weave the cloth. It could put the cloth together. All right. So that was a really big deal. And that was crazy that it could not only spin the thread, but it could weave it as well. All right. And so with the help of some investors, the Lowell mills were an immediate success. They took off right away to the moon. All right. And so the first one opens in Waltham, Massachusetts in 1814. All right. So the Lowell system changes everything. The investors invest and it takes off. All right. And so we have these young women who are working in these places. Okay. They're working in his factories and they're called Lowell girls. All right. That's what they become known as. In Lowell mills, they paid their workers between $2 and $4 each a week. Okay. And the workers had to pay $1.25 a week for room and board. So if you're only getting paid $2, you're paying $1.25 for room and board. You can do the math. You're left with 75 cents for the week. That sounds really bad for us, but apparently this was pretty good wages for the time period. These girls were making more money than they would on their farm, on their family farm, and so they really kind of wanted to leave the farm. They wanted to get away from the farm. They wanted to actually earn money. If you think about it, while they're working on the farm, they're not earning any money. They're working for dad. They're working for mom on the farm, and they're not making any money. Okay, they're not having any money they can take home. But with the Lowell system, working at Lowell's factories, they're actually earning money. Okay, it doesn't sound like it was, and it was decent money. And so they get this sense of economic independence. They can go out, they can buy things on their own now. And many of us think, when we think about these, at least when I think about this time period, you think about these factories almost being a prison. Okay, these people are hired, and it's really hard to get away. You don't have a ton of free time. Well, these girls still didn't have a ton of free time, but when they did have free time, Lowell encouraged them to use that time, take classes, form clubs amongst one another, get out in society. And that's what Lowell was encouraging these girls to do, is to try to take classes to further their education and try to form these clubs so that they could hang out with one another, get to know one another, become socially aware of one another. All right. But with that being said, the work days were tough. You're working 12 to 14-hour days. All right. That doesn't leave a lot of time for you. Right. And also, you're working around this cotton dust. Well, these cotton dust starts to get in your lungs and starts to cause some health problems, cough, stuff like that. And so, although they were making good money, although they were furthering their education, forming women's clubs, they still had a very difficult work life. And so because of this work life, because of things going on, the workers started to organize, okay? And we'll talk a little bit about what that means. What do they mean by organize? All right, so the wages for factory workers, they begin to fall as people competed for jobs. People are starting to compete for jobs and the wages are falling. All right, and again, anything in yellow, put in your additional notes, blue's a definition. We get this wave of immigration that comes in the 1840s, and it brought people from other countries, and we're talking poor countries. All right, we're talking Ireland. A lot of people come over from Ireland. Ireland had just been through a potato famine, all right, where all their potatoes went bad and a lot of people died. We're talking about Germans. Germans come over from Germany to the new country, and at this time, these were poor countries. All right, these were very poor countries at the time because of the potato famine in Ireland, and because of Germany had some issues with some poor financial planning by their leaders. And so they come over and they're like, hey, we'll work for whatever. This is a job. We just have a job. We're happy to have a job. Well, the people who are already here, we call them nativists. The people who are already in America, well, they get upset towards the immigrants. They're taking their jobs and they're upset at them. And it causes some pretty severe violence towards these immigrants. And so facing low wages and the fear of losing their jobs, these skilled workers start to form trade unions. All right. So what is a trade union? A trade union is a group groups that try to improve pay and working conditions. We have unions today. There's still such a thing as a trade union. Electricians have a union. Okay, many different trades. Trade is a job. Many different jobs have unions. Firemen, police officers. There's a teacher union. Okay, it's just a group of people who are trying to get better pay and better working conditions. That's their initial goal. That's their initial setup. Unions have changed a little bit today, but that's their initial setup. Well, the employers don't like the unions. The employers see their employees getting together and almost feels like they're conspiring against them. They're trying to cause harm to them. And so when things weren't going their way, unions would just strike. They would stage a strike. They would organize a strike. So what is a strike? Well, it's a refusal to work until employers meet union demands. All right, I know that my picture down there, my face probably cut off that word demands down there. But that's what it is. It's a refusal to work until employers meet union demands, whatever they want. All right. Again, pause if you need to get these definitions. So the unions get together and they start trying to reform or better improve working life and working conditions. One of the main people in this, and it's a little bit of a surprise, I know, because of the time period, because of the social status, not because she wouldn't have been able to do it, but because of how things were in this time period. And it's Sarah G. Bagley. She's a mill worker who was a strong voice in the union movement. So she wrote magazine articles and made speeches about working in the mills. She organized workers to help make changes to working conditions. She founded Lowell Female Labor Reform Association to publicize the struggles of factory workers. And at the end of the day, she was elected vice president of the New England Working Men's Association in 1845. This is the 1800s. Okay, women, unfortunately, it's wrong, but women were not held to a high standard at this time. They were not looked at as productive members of society. Okay, again, it's wrong. It's messed up, and they eventually get it changed. All right, but at this time period, that's unfortunate, but they just weren't. Okay, but Sarah, so that proves to us how hard of a worker Sarah G. Bagley must have been for this union movement, because she was elected vice president of the New England Working Men's Association, okay, in 1845. In this position, she was the first female to hold such a high position in the union movement and in the trade workers movement. And so, was a very hard worker. She did a fantastic job for the union movement to try to better labor reforms, and she did a whole host of things to try to better those conditions. And so, although the labor movement did experience some successes, working conditions would continue to be difficult. So here's your main ideas. Again, you can pause to grab these main ideas if you need to. Today, you are going to continue working on that assignment we looked at yesterday, that reading assignment where you needed to go through, read all those different, read about the Great Britain Industrial Revolution over in Great Britain. I need you to finish that up today, get that done, get it turned in. That way I can get that thing graded. All right. Other than that, that's what I got for you today. Make sure you get your notes turned in. You should have them finished up now, and finish up that assignment from yesterday, the Great Britain Industrial Revolution. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great day.